2023 County Board Candidate Forum. First, obviously, thank you to the library, the Indian Prairie Public Library. This is nice of them to host it. And of course, most importantly, to the Darien Chamber of Commerce and Chamber 630, both business stalwart organization. They champion business in this region and throughout. And it's important to both chambers that people have knowledge and information about the various units of government and those good enough people that stand to serve it. So thanks to all involved. April in the back from Darien, Laura from Chamber 630, both again are wonderful organizations that care about business and this region as a whole. And most importantly, thank you to the candidates who showed up and who seek to serve. It's not easy. It's not easy serving, it's not easy seeking to serve, and obviously holding themselves out to talk about the issues is a critical and an important thing. And because we have a small group, but an informed group, we're going to keep this casual and loose, all for the purpose of hearing from them and engaging, and that's important. I will ask the candidates, to the extent possible, whenever business issues are either directly or tangentially involved, to the extent you can, get that in there, because obviously these organizations, that's a paramount concern. I would be remiss if I didn't say Ed Mumpkis was supposed to be my co-facilitator today. Unfortunately, Ed had a family matter that he had to attend to. Our best wishes are with him and his family. Okay, so the form is real simple. They're going to get a minute, each candidate. We're going to go down the line, and they were drawn by random how they seat. We have got, by the way, a mixture of District 2 and 3, so if you want to throw that out there occasionally, that will be helpful for the audience here and watching or live or delayed. We'll go down the line, introduce, get 1 minute, and then I'm going to pepper you. No, I'm not. Just going to ask some questions. There's no pepper. There's no pepper. No, there's no peppering. Again, it's dialogue based. To the extent, by the way, if a minute isn't enough time, just give me a look and you'll get more time. And if someone wants to respond to something a colleague or candidate has said, again, give me the look and we'll do that. And I'll try and keep it interactive. And most importantly, to the extent the audience member has questions, write them down. That handsome guy with the nice haircut, Mr. Roush over there, will take questions, and we encourage questions, so give them to him and we'll get them out there. All right? Right. Really cheap barber. So with that, Mayor Tully, you are first. You got a minute to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about why you're running.
All right, thanks, Ron. And as you know, I can't say good morning in a minute, less than a minute, so I'm going to do my best here. First of all, thank you very much to both of the chambers for organizing this forum, and thank you for everyone here taking some time out of your Saturday morning to be here to be a more informed voter. As Ron mentioned, my name is Martin Tully, and I'm one of the two candidates running for DuPage County Board District 3, and I'm looking for your support on November 6th or beforehand. Early voting starts on Monday, believe it or not. So real quickly, it's been my privilege to serve as the mayor of Downers Grove for almost 8 years. And now I'm running for DuPage County Board, and I'm committed to keeping DuPage County strong, keeping it a great place to live, work, run a business, and raise a family. As mayor of Downers Grove, a number of things I think are important. Number one, we've maintained a AAA bond rating for our community. We've passed balanced, award-winning budgets year after year. We have not raised our property tax levy for operations in 8 years. Ladies and gentlemen, that is not easy. It takes a mixture of innovation, lean practices, and robust economic development in order to be able to deliver our services, keep them top quality, and yet not raise taxes. And when I say top quality, police, fire, and public services are all in the top 1% of our community. I know I'm in a minute here, so I will tell you more about myself at the end. Thank you for being here, and I hope to earn your vote on November 6th.
Thanks, Martin. And I was remiss in one respect. The two candidates whose seats are empty were invited. Both declined. And we regret that they're not here. Both said they had conflicts. So to be fair, Ms. Renahan and Ms. Chaplin were invited and were unable to attend. Peter.
Thank you, Mr. Sandick. Appreciate it. Welcome, everyone. My name is Pete DeCiani. I'm on the county board. I represent the 2nd district. I'm in my 2nd term, looking to seek my 3rd term. Prior to that, I served as the mayor of Elmhurst, along with Mayor Tully. We both served as stormwater commissioners, as municipal members. Before we came to the county board, hopefully Martin will be there right on our side to get this done and make sure the county stays strong. I led 2 FEMA declarations, one in 2010 as mayor and the second in 2013 as a county commissioner. Served on the stormwater committee for 6 years, brought home more FEMA money to District 2 than any other district, which I'm very proud of, to help our residents and our businesses rebuild. I'm father of 3. My My wife and I, Rose, are married 24 years just last week, and she's a registered nurse at Loyola. And I'm a small business owner. I founded my company at age 18, right out of York High School. I took a print shop class that turned me into a little entrepreneur. And DCN Graphics is now in its 34th year. So with that, I seek re-election. I would love to be your representative for District 2, and I work tirelessly with these gentlemen up here to make DuPage County and continue to make DuPage County a great county. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter. Steve?
Yeah. Well, good morning. My name's Steve Nero, candidate for DuPage County Board in District 2. Currently, I'm serving my second term as Westmont Village trustee. I'm in my 8th year there, and we've had very successful 7.5 years. We've consistently done more with less. We solved over $30 million of stormwater infrastructure, and we brought numerous developments with thousands of well-paying local jobs to our village. Couldn't be more proud. I have the unanimous support for the entire village for my race here for DuPage County Board. Born and raised in DuPage County, grew up in Villa Park, went to Elmhurst College, married my high school sweetheart. We just celebrated our 4th year anniversary a couple weeks ago. I'm honored to be here and look forward to telling you a lot more about myself, my past experiences, a little about what I do professionally, and how I'm going to help on the county board. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Greg?
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here. I want to thank the Darien Chamber of Commerce as well as Chamber 630. I feel honored that this is the second time I've been able to be with the Darien Chamber in the last week. I participated in their Dancing with the Stars event last weekend, and hopefully my answers are better than my dance moves. We'll see. But again, I'm the current incumbent county board member from District 3, running for a 4-year term coming up. And really, the main reasons why I'm running, just like you, is that I want to continue to make DuPage a place to live, work, raise a family, and start a business. My wife and I have also been married for 4 years, and we just welcomed our newborn daughter into this world about 10 months ago. And really, they're the 2 main reasons why I'm running. I think we're fortunate to have a county that's exceptionally well run, but it's not going to always be well run unless we send the right leadership. And I think I am able to provide that because I actually am in business. I'm a management consultant for my professional life. I help some of the largest institutions in the world and small business as well find ways to be more efficient, effective. And if there's one thing we know about county government, it's that all of the challenges we're going to be facing over the next couple of years are related to having to do more with less. I'm uniquely qualified to continue doing that. I have a record on the county board of freezing property taxes, eliminating ineffective units of government, and I look forward to continue to do that for the next 4 years. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Okay, Peter, we start with you because we're going to kind of mix up the order. The first question that all the candidates will get, through the ACT initiative, accountability, consolidation, and transparency, DuPage County continues to search for efficiencies with other units of government. 2-part question, Peter. Do you support the initiative? If so, why, and how can we make it better? If you don't, why? And what other examples of trying to obtain efficiencies and lower tax burdens would you suggest in its substitution?
Well, naturally, as a businessman and as a former mayor, I support the ACT initiative. I think it's important that we maximize our resources, our tax dollars for our residents. We eliminate duplication and waste. As a mayor, I dealt with paper fire districts, which used to drive me crazy because they would pay less than their fair share of taxes to our municipalities, and yet I would have to supply, the top-notch fire service that our residents that paid full taxes would pay. So I'm proud to help eliminate 2 fire districts as a county board member. So no, I wholeheartedly support the ACT initiative. I think more intergovernmental cooperation, working together to save the taxpayers' money is key. We have a very struggling state. We have a thriving county, a struggling state that gives us less and less. So we need to do more with less to give you the same quality of life that we're used to. The quality of life that I grew up with since I was 9 years old in this county, the best schools, the best public safety, the best county. We need to do that by working together. Shared services, intergovernmental cooperation. I got a proven track record as a mayor, working with the county stormwater initiatives. We are home to the largest stormwater asset in Elmhurst for DuPage County, and that was through an intergovernmental agreement. It's literally saving 10,000 homes in the region. So, thank you.
Thanks, Peter. Steve, same question. ACT initiative, support, why? Don't support, why? And what would you replace it with if you don't support it?
Yeah, thank you. Well, the short answer is yes, I support it, but I want to improve on it. And just a little history on me is I went to grad school at Illinois Institute of Technology, got my master's in public administration. One of the key things that we focused on was consolidation of local government. I I get it, I understand it, I understand the inner workings of government. I know how to push these things through, the right way to do it, and how to evaluate and how to improve on it. Second thing, professionally, I work for a firm called SafeBuilt. We're an innovative company that partners over 1,000 municipalities across the country. My full-time position, what we do is actually what we're talking about here. We go and find efficiencies within government operations, implement them, allowing communities to do more with less. In Westmont, the village board, we consolidated a fire district. We work together with our park districts, our sanitary districts. The list goes on and on. It's a consistent initiative of mine with staff. Let's get more intergovernmental agreements. We need to consistently do more with less. We've done it for the past 7.5 years. I know I can push it on the county board. But a few more specific things that I want to do to push this through is we really need to increase local government engagement by educating local government leaders, on consolidation of ways to share resources. 2 is broker and lead partnerships opportunities. And I think the most important is to develop measurable criteria so we can evaluate what we're doing and make sure that we're implementing the right things. So, thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Greg, same question.
Yeah, I think the ACT initiative has been a tremendous success. I think Chairman Cronin deserves a lot of credit for spearheading it at the county. And in my year at the county board, I think I've been able to continue to push for the ACT initiative, and I look forward to doing that in different ways. I'm very proud of the fact that the first vote I ever took right after I was sworn in at the county board was to begin the process of consolidating the Highland Hills Sanitary District and dissolving that unit of government. What it's going to do is provide not just cost savings from a governmental body standpoint in terms of the tax levy and tax dollars that are being appropriated, but it's actually also helping to reduce $1.4 million in scheduled rate increases. So when we think about the ACT initiative, it's not just the cost savings that are being generated by dissolving ineffective units of government, it's actually the other additional savings that it's going to have for the taxpayers like you and me. So I'm fully supportive of expanding it as well. I think we need to look at expanding it to the Recorder's Office in addition to the Election Commission. I look forward to voting in January to officially consolidate the DuPage Election Commission, which will bring about around $300,000 annually of cost savings for the taxpayer. So again, fully supportive of it. I think my unique professional background gives me a unique perspective on helping that issue moving forward too. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Martin, obviously you've heard the question and the answers. To the extent you can fashion some other nuance, given your experience municipally, that may be of benefit.
Sure, I'll try to do that both politically and professionally. I'll start with politically. Yes, I'm a supporter of the ACT initiative, and in fact worked with the county and the state in 2013, 2014 to eliminate a paper fire protection district, the Fairview Fire Protection District in the Village Downers Grove, which was suffering that problem of not supporting the costs of the services that were being provided, and we were able to rectify that to the benefit of the residents and also eliminate an unnecessary unit of government. So we also lived the ACT initiative. Consolidation is an important topic here, but I also want to touch upon collaboration in a moment. Consolidation is important not just to keep costs down, but also to stem rising costs, but also to maintain and enhance services. You may not necessarily initially see a tax savings benefit, but what you can do is sometimes continue to maintain services that otherwise would degrade, but for consolidation. There are lots of opportunities out there for consolidation. Sanitary districts, mosquito abatement districts, the list goes on and on. The key though is that consolidation has to take place from the bottom up. The stakeholders involved have to be the ones that want to do it in order for it to work. Forcing it from the top down is not likely to be successful. Professionally, I'm a small business owner and an entrepreneur. I founded my own firm in February of this year, and one of the ways that we're successful in pushing the delivery of legal services in a new way is through collaboration with non-legal service providers, and that's something where the public sector can take a page out of the book of the private sector. In order to provide more comprehensive, effective solutions, you have to collaborate. So it's not just about consolidation, it's also about collaboration, as was mentioned, working with other units of government, working with not-for-profits, and working with the private sector. That's how you can do more with less. And I also don't want to forget transparency as part of that ACT initiative. I think more can be done in terms of engaging with county residents so they have a better understanding of what the county does, and that will in turn empower them to hold their elected officials more accountable.
Thanks. Given that we just talked about the ACT initiative, the next question kind of flows from that. Some of your colleagues and potential colleague, County Board Member Eckhoff, has been a leader in trying to consolidate fire departments with specificity, given that they're municipal departments, given that there's fire districts, there's paid on-call units, there's a voluntary unit, there's some real challenges there. What role should the county play in either seeing this through or not seeing it through with respect to the various fire departments within DuPage County. Steve, we start with you.
Thank you. The county needs to be the leader by assisting potential opportunities and then following through with them. For example, the North Westmont Fire District was one that was recently done with the help of Westmont and DuPage County. We navigated that entire process. Although the savings weren't astronomical, we did eliminate a paper fire district. We created a fair and balanced method to pay for the fire service, which they were already receiving. So here's a good example, which there's many more out there. Westmont Fire Department is a paid-on-call fire department, so I don't think there should be anything off the table. We should dive into every potential opportunity. Well, what I mentioned before is we've got to make sure we have measurable criteria so we can analyze what we're going to do and make sure that we're putting our best foot forward to make the right decision. That's about all. Thank you.
Thank you. Greg, obviously you're on the board. What role should the county play in potentially working towards consolidation of fire districts and fire departments?
Well, I agree that the county should continue to be a leader on this subject, but especially as it relates to critical emergency services that have such an impact on people's lives, I do think that we need to ensure that when the county's taking a role, it's working in coordination and collaboration with the municipality. So Steve mentioned the North Westmont Fire Protection District. I was proud to begin the process of consolidating that and dissolving that unit of government, but one of the things that we did very efficiently at the county board was work with our colleagues in Westmont, including Steve and the mayor there, to ensure that whatever was being done would not impact the critical services that are provided to residents as it relates to emergency services. On that particular consolidation effort, we also had a survey of the people and showed that the vast majority of them were in favor of it. So when we're talking about consolidation of emergency services, fire protection districts, I'm fully supportive. I think the county needs to play a role, but we also have to work very closely with the municipalities and ensure that the residents are supportive of the effort too.
Thanks, Greg. Martin?
Sure. Well, I've had the benefit of working with the Fire Services Stakeholders Task Force in my past role as president of the DuPage Mayors and Managers Conference. And the consolidation of fire districts is a great thing to consider, but it has a number of challenges. So if you look at a map, you're going to see fire stations all over a map, and you might want to draw circles around them and say, well, why can't all these be consolidated into one area? And on a map, that looks great, but it's more complicated than that. The first thing and most paramount thing of importance is public safety. So consolidation is important, collaboration is important, but not at the sacrifice of public safety. Response times are key. Nobody wants to have the response time for an EMT call to be reduced in the sake of consolidation. So in order to preserve the paramount importance of public safety and yet achieve these cost savings and efficiencies that we're talking about, it does take that kind of collaboration. And there are various different factors that are involved, which is why, as I mentioned earlier, consolidation works best when the stakeholders involved have identified the opportunities for consolidation and agree to work together to resolve the various issues that will allow for consolidation to take place without sacrificing public safety. The county can play a critical role here in facilitating that communication and also helping to eliminate barriers to consolidation, because there are some legislative barriers that still exist out there that don't make it very easy to consolidate even when everybody wants to. I think the county can continue to play an important role in facilitating the elimination of those barriers.
Thank you, Martin. Peter?
I agree with Martin. The fire districts the whole fire issue with the county is very tricky. I think it's got to come from the bottom up. Where the county can take a role, and we have been taking a role, because prior to Chairman Cronin, prior to many of us being on the board, it was very difficult to get rid of a paper fire district. It was very difficult to get an SSA passed in a fire district, to get them to pay equal fair share of what our residents, as incorporated residents, would pay. So the county is taking a lead role on making those SSAs possible, which I think is important to even out the tax liability on each individual resident, whether they're incorporated or unincorporated. They're paying the same rate, which is important. We've eliminated the units, which I think is key too, because we've caught some costs there. But if we're going to be consolidating districts and departments, that's got to come from the bottom up, because you got to get buy-in from the municipalities to make that work. So I think we have to be very careful in how we present that to those towns, because again, other towns invest a lot in fire safety. For instance, Elmer's has got a top-notch department. Next door to us in Villa Park, it's not so top-notch. So you have to be very careful, because those residents can be, they want to control their local dollars. So, thank you.
Thanks. As you gentlemen know, there are 3 referendum questions on the ballot come March 6th locally. What is your position on the creation of a statewide vehicle mileage tax, which would ostensibly tax DuPage residents based upon the number of miles driven on an annual basis? As a follow-up, would you prefer DuPage County residents to oppose or support this tax, and why? Greg, we start with you.
I'm completely opposed to the establishment of a VMT, and I would encourage my fellow DuPage County residents to vote the same on that referendum question. Even though it's non-binding, I think it would send a strong message to the politicians in Springfield who are even thinking about considering this. I think we're taxed enough in DuPage County. I know from a business standpoint and from a resident standpoint, we pay some of the highest property taxes in the country. And I think that exploring the imposition of a VMT on a suburban community like DuPage, where many of us commute via our cars to work, a lot of our businesses depend on logistical transportation that would be very much hit by this. I think we need to really understand that it's not a good idea. It's going to hurt our local economy, and we need to look for other ways to find the state an opportunity to pay their bills rather than passing that tax on to the people. So I'm opposed to it.
Thanks, Greg. Martin?
I am opposed to the odometer tax. I think that the state doesn't have a revenue problem, the state has a spending problem. So before they go around adding new taxes, I think they should figure out how to avoid the waste and do some of the things that municipalities and the county have been doing for many, many years to keep their houses in order, and that's where they have to start first. But I'll get off my soapbox on that for a second. The VMT, or the odometer tax as it's called in some other states, is problematic for two reasons. Actually, more than two reasons. One, it's a bad idea. But then number two, it penalizes people for going to work. So you have to go back and forth to work, and no matter how efficient you might be, you're going to be taxed in just the distance you have to travel in order to go to work. And I think there's, as was previously said by Greg, we have enough burdens the way it is, and that we shouldn't be penalizing people further. I've heard, number two, that part of this is to try to capture electric vehicles, and the vehicles don't use fuels that are subject to existing taxes. Well, why are we penalizing people for using alternative fuels and being more efficient in how they get to and from work or wherever they have to be? Again, we should be promoting that, not penalizing people for it. So those are just a handful of reasons why I think the VMT tax is a bad idea and should be opposed.
Thank you. Pete?
Well, I am for small government and less tax, and one of the challenges that we've had in the state is we've been a big government state with big tax, and that's driving businesses and residents out of our state daily. We're the highest exodus state in the country. So for that reason, in fact, many people ask, why would you guys put these on the ballot? We wanted to have a seat at the table. We want to send a message to Springfield. This is not how we do business in DuPage County. This is not how we should be doing business in Illinois. I have a fleet of 9 vehicles in my company. If I'm taxed on every mile, I have vehicles going downstate today, delivering printing throughout the state of Illinois. That would be a problem. That would encourage more businesses to want to do business in Indiana and in Iowa and states around us that are more friendly to business. So as a business owner, as a manufacturer, as somebody that employs people, and also cares about their community, I think this is challenging. I will be a no vote on any type of a tax that would put more government and more taxes into our residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve?
Yeah, I oppose this. I think it's outrageous. I think it's not realistic to implement nor to enforce. It's a very common theme here. It's a large negative effect on the business community. The firm I work for, we have thousands of vehicles out there, company vehicles that we work within communities. I mean, we just can't sustain that. The state really needs to get their financial house in order before they start asking taxpayers to start ponying up some more. So I completely oppose it. Thank you.
Thanks. Marty, we start the next set of questions with you. As all of you are probably aware, I think sometime last year, 3 economists from the Federal Reserve Bank in Chicago, not in their official capacity, but in their individual capacities, proposed that Illinois eliminate its pension debt or reduce it by way of imposing a special tax statewide on property owners, which would essentially impose a state real estate property tax of about 1% of the value of each home on each homeowner on an annual basis for the next 30 years to basically reduce, recapture, and account for the pension liabilities. What's your position on this proposal?
Sure. Thanks for the question. Again, another state question as opposed to the county, but I think it'll be no secret based on what I said in response to the last question that I'm also opposed to this 1% statewide tax. In addition to the state having other avenues to fix their problem other than asking for more money from its residents, I have zero confidence that if this were actually levied, that the problem would be solved. So giving more money to the people who have demonstrated over and over again that they can't solve their problems with where they're currently at, I don't think is going to get us anywhere. So that's another reason to oppose it. What I am in support of is the Illinois Municipal League right now has a proposal to try to address some of the issues with the pension debt. It has to do with taking the myriad of different pension funds that exist throughout the entire state, police, fire, and others, and consolidating them into one place where you can get the benefits of economy of scale. This is very similar to the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund, where the non-police, fire, public works, other municipal employees are all within one fund, and they're able to get better returns and lower costs, and that will go a long way towards solving the problem without taking more money out of the pockets of taxpayers to put it in the hands of people who have demonstrated repeatedly they can't solve the problems we've been asking them to solve. So once again, this is going to sound like a broken record. I would really appreciate it if the state of Illinois would fix their own problems before they come to the rest of us looking for more, and that they would stop taking our share of things like the local income tax or the local government distributed fund. That is your money that you send to Springfield and it's supposed to come back into your communities, and yet Springfield continues to erode more and more than every year, and I don't see them solving any problems with it.
Thanks, Peter. The concept of a statewide 1% property tax to deal with statewide pensions.
So as I mentioned earlier, we're the #1 Exodus state because of property taxes. Now we're gonna basically increase them 50%. To me, it's political suicide. It's residential suicide. It's business suicide. We're taxing our residents, our seniors, who are leaving in massive amounts out of the state. My mother's 74 years old, and she's paying $6,000 on a little 2-bedroom ranch in Elmhurst, and she's living on a fixed income. We cannot put the burden on our residents and our businesses, because that 1% will also go on commercial property taxes. The reason why DuPage County is growing is because we're 1/3 the commercial property tax rate of Cook. So companies that want to do business and want to have a 100,000 square foot building would rather come to DuPage, pay $1.50 a foot versus be in Cook and pay $3 a foot. You add another dollar, you add another 1%, which could literally add another dollar to that per footage rate. They're going to want to leave Illinois at that point. So right now, we're the last bastion of hope for this state because of how we operate our business, how we tax our residents and our commercial people. So I would be against it.
Thanks. Steve?
Yeah, I oppose this. We need pension reform from across the state first. I led the charge in Westmont to eliminate IMRF pensions for village board members. I will not be taking a pension on the county board. And I think it's time we have some leaders that stand up and demand change. It starts at the top of this, enforce it and make it happen. I'm going to be the leader that's going to fight for it. Thank you.
Thanks. Greg?
And I'll echo everything that was said up here today. I think it's an absolute terrible idea, and I would oppose it as well. I think, as I mentioned in my previous comments, we pay some of the highest property taxes in the state already. I'm a millennial, so don't hold that against me. But I have a lot of friends who would normally be people that would absolutely want to move to DuPage County, take advantage of our excellent services, and understand that it's a great place to grow up and start a business. But they're choosing to leave the state of Illinois, not to mention DuPage County, because of the property taxes. So just to touch on something Martin said, it's also doing exactly the opposite of what the originators of this idea had intended, because I think that if you were to impose this, not to mention it just being a bad idea, you would actually be working towards shrinking your tax base because more people would want to leave out, so you wouldn't actually be solving the problem at all. I think we're overtaxed. I would not support this in any case, and I encourage my fellow DuPage residents to vote that way. Thank you.
Thanks. Peter, next one's for you. How do you feel about the transportation options currently available in DuPage County? Do we have enough options? If not, what would you increase or what would you add to the mix for DuPage residents?
It's a great question. As transit chair, I think transportation and transit especially as part of that component is key and paramount. We need to get people to and from work. We need to get people to and from school. As transit chair, I've secured $12 million of the $18 million for the new Elmhurst train station, which is the busiest train station in DuPage County. That moves our people from Elmhurst to DuPage County, because we have people that drive from all over to Elmhurst to jump on that train to get downtown to the Loop to make a living. So transit is key. We have some challenges there because our federal partners are not getting monies to do what they need to do. But I think as a county, we've got Ride DuPage, which I think is a great option for our seniors and people with disabilities, even for just people looking to get around the county. It's a very inexpensive tool and service that the county offers, which many communities, including Downers Grove, including Elmhurst, participate in to offer that to their seniors. So I think we're doing a good job. Can we do better? Absolutely. Absolutely. So, but we're always striving to do more with less. Ride sharing is important too. I think we've got some public-private partnerships that we're in the midst of testing in Oak Brook and Elmhurst right now, which I think are going to be fruitful as well. Thank you.
Thanks. Steve, transportation in DuPage County.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of options compared to other counties throughout the country. You know, I visit a lot of them through my professional life, and in comparison, we're in good shape. However, I do think we can improve on traffic efficiency. As we all drive around the county, there's a lot of areas that we know that are notorious for long traffic jams, lots of accidents. One good example is when I first got on the village board in Westmont, 55th and Cass, not too far from here. Awful intersection. When I first got on there, I realized that this was a problem that Westmont was trying to navigate with the county for over 2 decades. And I said, well, what's taking so long? Let's fix this. We pushed our county leaders, our District 3 representatives at the time, finally got it done. The intersection now is improved. If you've driven through it lately, you got dedicated turn, multi-lanes, less accidents, less traffic congestion. That's what we need. It took a leader that understood how to secure the funding, navigate the process, and ultimately follow through and complete the improvements. You know, I have a track record of doing that. We need to make sure we do that all over. A couple other options. In my travels throughout the country, a lot of bike share programs, more ride shares. We need to start navigating and looking at these new innovative solutions that might help some folks. So nothing's off the table. We can do better, and I know we will. Thank you.
Thanks. Greg?
Yeah, transportation is a critical component of not just attracting new residents, but new businesses to DuPage County. Like Pete said, I fully support the expansion of rideshare programs. I'm proud as a member of the Public Transit Committee at the County Board to, under Pete's leadership, actually push one of those programs forward. A challenge that a lot of young people and people of all ages are facing right now is how do they get to work most efficiently. You see a lot of companies actually picking up out of DuPage, McDonald's being a noteworthy one, moving downtown because it's easier to access talent pools out there. If we were to enhance our ability to provide rideshare programs, to provide other transportation programs that would make it easier for people to get to work, I think you'd see a lot more businesses relocating to DuPage County, and you'd see a lot more people relocating here as well. I also think that transportation is another place where we can coordinate with our federal and state and local partners. We've talked a lot over the last couple of years as a country about infrastructure bills and infrastructure spending. I'm supportive of that, and I think we need to work with people in both the U.S. Congress and D.C. as well as Springfield to see if we can get some more of those infrastructure dollars coming towards DuPage.
Thanks. Martin?
Greg's absolutely right. Transportation and transportation infrastructure are critical components of a robust economic development program and for attracting and maintaining businesses in DuPage County. Give you an example. We just had a groundbreaking ceremony recently this week for a brand new 170,000 square foot distribution center for a new company that is located in Downers Grove in DuPage County, Green Bay Packaging. And part of the reason is because of where they're located, proximate to all the highways and the rail. So DuPage County has some terrific assets to attract and maintain businesses, but we've got to continue to invest in that infrastructure. That means roads, our rail lines, and working with other agencies in order to make sure that those are there to support our needs. We also have the infamous last mile problem. We want to have companies locate in DuPage County, we want them to locate their headquarters here in DuPage County, but their workforce oftentimes can be downtown. So how do we get the millennials, with no disrespect, out of Lincoln Park, on a train out here? Well, you can get them to the train stations in Elmhurst and Downers Grove and elsewhere, but then you have to get them from the train station to the office parks. And we have to continue to work to try to solve that problem because that's how we're going to attract more and more of these companies out here. We also need to provide more housing and training for those employees out here in DuPage County. So instead of locating in Lincoln Park, they locate out here in DuPage County to support, those are the workforces that need to support these businesses, then provide all the benefits to our community. And last but not least, I just want to mention that we need to be mindful of the changing economy and the changing environment. Somebody mentioned ride sharing up here. We're going to see a decline in parking needs because we're not going to see people getting into a car, driving to a train station, leaving that car there for 9, 10, 12 hours anymore. That car is going to be repurposed. It's going to be delivering things. It's going to be taking people around. So we're going to have to think about long-term repurposing our parking infrastructure as well.
Steve, this one is for you. Obviously, DuPage County is in strong financial condition, but there's always going to be the need to continue to improve and look ahead at challenges. So if elected, what 3 steps, and if not 3 less, would you take to put DuPage County on an even firmer financial position?
Sure. Well, I think number 1 is to bring my professional and government experience along with my education to the county board budgeting process. District 2 needs someone who truly understands the day-to-day operations and knows how to find and create efficiencies. Number 2, continue to push consolidation and the sharing of resources. And number 3, foster economic growth and development by these following things. Make sure the county is easy to do business with. That's what I do professionally. We'll make sure the county is. Number 2, make sure our fees are competitive so we entice developers to come in. Number 3, make sure economic developments and the communities have the tools in place needed to succeed. Workforce training, outreach marketing, incentives. Promote one of the folks that aren't here today, really bash chamber, choose DuPage. And to be honest, that's an instrumental part of economic development here in the county. And I was shocked when I heard that. Our chamber relies on it. I know all the chambers here do. It's a very important part of the process. We just got to make sure we continue following through with those things. Thank you.
Thanks. Greg?
Yeah.
How do you make it better?
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, Ron, I think DuPage has done a really good job. It's in strong financial shape, but it is getting increasingly difficult to maintain a balanced budget with the flat property tax because of decisions made outside of DuPage. But I think there's a number of things we can continue to do. The first thing that I think is critical is to continue to ensure our property tax levy remains flat. I think that's going to help businesses, and it's actually going to grow our tax base if we lower the cost of doing business in DuPage, because we know it's exceptionally high throughout the state of Illinois, and we're special. We need to keep ourselves that way. The second, I would look internal to county operations, both through the ACT initiative, but also through an assessment of our processes and procedures to see where there might be other opportunities to save money. So this past year, I'm the chairman of the Health and Human Services Committee at the county. We had a unit focused on mental health, psychiatric services that was under our county's general fund. We found that by moving that entity over to the county health department without any layoffs, just by moving it and reorganizing the structure of that department, we were able to save taxpayers $1 million because the health department can bill Medicare, whereas the county's general fund can't. We need to look for those ideas. And then lastly, I would look to continue to leverage planned attrition. There's a number of county positions that are currently filled, but a number of folks are moving towards retirement. We need to assess whether or not refilling those jobs makes sense. Obviously, I'm not for layoffs in that case, but I think we need to assess our workforce and making sure that it's as efficient as possible at the county. Thank you.
Thanks, Martin. A reminder, the question is how to put the county in firmer financial position.
Sure, and as many of you probably know, Chairman Cronin has just put forth a budget for 2019 that for the 11th year in a row has no increase in the property tax levy in DuPage County. That's incredible, but also very, very difficult, as Member Hart mentioned. So what the residents of District 3 need are representatives on the DuPage County Board that have experience in how to do that so we can continue that trend for the residents of the entire county. In Downers Grove, we've achieved 8 years, as mentioned earlier, of not increasing our property tax levy for operations, and we've done that through a combination of a number of different things. Number one, through employing lean practices and innovation. So we're leveraging technology, we're leveraging lean practices to figure out how to do more with less. And accordingly, we've been able to actually shrink our budget and shrink the size of our municipal staff over the last 10 years by almost 20%. And again, without laying people off, this is about not filling positions and really figuring out, is there a way that we can continue to provide the same service, not sacrificing public safety or public health or public services in a different way. We've been very successful in doing that. Number two, it's collaboration and consolidation. We've already talked about a great deal. How can we partner with others to do more with less? We've done that with our park districts and with our school districts. There are many, many more opportunities out there. Number three, robust economic development. We have to work with Choose DuPage to attract those businesses to our community, to grow our tax base, not our tax rate. And last, I'll say it again, I'm looking at you, Ron. Last, I'll say it again, is we need to continue to be vigilant in keeping local control and keeping Springfield from taking your dollars that are supposed to come back to our community and our county from being siphoned off by the state.
Thank you. Peter, last word on this. How can we make the county, how can we put it in even better financial stead?
So we're already doing great things with consolidation and intergovernmental, and I think we continue to work on those things that's important. The biggest thing, I think, we drive the economic development bus, which creates new growth. As a mayor, I drove that bus for the city of Elmhurst. I had $1 billion in economic growth. We rolled the red carpet out for developers. We made it easy to do business. We gave incentives. We put in TIF districts. We put in grants, and that's how we had $1 billion in economic growth. $500 million in a brand new hospital, 4,000 jobs. The other $500 million came in a mixture of residential and small businesses that came to our town that wanted to do business. That same principle as a mayor I've applied to the county, and I think if we continue to foster new growth, we can capture that new growth without having to raise taxes. We could actually, again, be the driver of that new growth bus. It's important that we keep our credit rating solid, and we, as Mayor of Elmhurst, we were always sales tax dependent on our car dealers. And the recession hit, sales tax went down, and we had to make some adjustments. So we're in a similar position at the county. We're very sales tax heavy, which is good and bad. We're a product of our own success. So with that, again, at the end of the day, we're driving the bus of new growth. We got to keep our county competitive, keep our taxes low to foster new growth, and continue to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so this is the last regularly scheduled question, but I've got a handful of questions from the audience. So this is the last one. Greg, you start us off. As a county board member, in your view, what are the 3 top priorities? So basically a job description, if you will, from your perspective, perhaps to folks that don't understand or know what county government should be doing.
Yeah. Well, it's a great question. I think, as was mentioned earlier before, we need to make sure that as a county board, we're doing a good job explaining our job description to people in our community. The way I view it is that we're the legislature for the county. We help appropriate all of your county tax levy. And so that includes everything ranging from the sheriff's office to the health department and all of the other services that we provide in DuPage. What I think is incredibly important, as I mentioned before, for anyone seeking this office, and this is why I think I'm uniquely qualified for it, is you have to understand how to do more with less and be creative in terms of how you're going to build the organization at the county. Right now, what we've had for a number of years is a situation where we're getting less revenue from the state. We need to find ways to ensure that our critical services are maintained. That's why a lot of us move here. It's why a lot of businesses move here. But we have to know how to do so efficiently. So I would think that to have this job, you need to understand how to work within a budget. You need to understand how to find ways to make smart cuts, not stupid cuts, and find ways to make sure that we're continuing our services in a way that people want to move here, but we're doing so with lower cost to the taxpayer. So that's why I think I'm uniquely qualified for it.
All right, Martin, and by the way, everyone, to the extent you hear that wonderful music, because I got some rapid fire questions coming. Martin, top 3 from your perspective.
Well, in explaining, like Member Hart said, in explaining what the role is, I've tried to tell people that you're basically the village council for the county. And Chairman Cronin is like the mayor of the village council for the county, and people kind of understand that. But that really underscores the issue. One of the things I want to do as a county board member is make sure that more residents understand exactly what the role of the county is and how they can be more engaged in the process, and at the end of the day, hold everyone more accountable. So that's what the sort of the role is. But what is part of that role is, first and foremost, your job is to keep DuPage County a terrific place to live, work, and raise a family. That's your job. And how do you do that? You do that by representing the best interest of, first and foremost, the people within your district, because we do have districts, and it's District 3, that would be my first priority. But I would think that all interests of District 3 would be aligned with the rest of the county. So you really are there to represent the best interests of everyone within the county, no matter who they are. Your job is to be a good steward of the public assets. That means the tax dollars, that means the infrastructure, that means the other components that the county has. And to be a conduit of information and engagement with the residents so they can feel participatory in their government, because after all, it's your government, it's not ours. We're here to serve you. One of the most important things I like in village council is we have an org chart. And the org chart has the mayor and the village council, the village manager, and all the staff. But you move to the very top of the org chart, the residents. So the minute you get elected, it's a demotion, because we're here to serve you. That's the #1 thing that is part of your job.
Peter.
My 3 most important responsibilities to me is keeping the county safe. I was the leader on EPI. We had a young girl pass away in our town of an allergy attack, 13 years old, little Annie Laguerre. We were the first county to put Narcan on our police officers. With my leadership, we're the first county to put EpiPens on our police officers. That's as of about a year and a half. Worked closely with the sheriff to make that happen. Did that with no cost to the county through medical training and donations from the Annie Laguerre Fund for the EpiPens. Second most important thing is keeping the county fertile. We have business growth, we have economic growth, we don't have to tax as much. And actually, we don't have to tax at all. We can just do our same levy and work off the fruits of our work, off sales tax and off new growth. And lastly, to keep it simple, and one of probably the biggest reasons why I left the mayor's seat to run to the county board was to be the voice of our most vulnerable, our seniors, people with disabilities, the elderly, the mentally ill. To me, that's what it's all about. I have a daughter with autism, which is the #1 disability affecting kids. We have about 3,000 kids in this county We were the first to put Narcan on our police officers, first to put Epi on our police officers, and we will be the first county spring of next year to diagnose low-income kids with autism, and I'm proud of that, and I'm proud to have that leadership to make that happen. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter. Steve?
Yep, number one to me is respecting the taxpayer. We do this through the county budget, the budgeting process. Number two is public safety. We've heard about that. Police, fire, EMA, health department. Some of us forget the health department, extremely important to our county. Number three is infrastructure, stormwater, roads, bridges, water, wastewater, improving these and maintaining these, all extremely important to this role. Thank you.
All right, thank you all for those. Now, this is the fun part, right? I got some audience questions, and if there's any more, we're gonna go tight now, okay? And we're gonna start with you, Mark, and kind of go up and down. So Marty, you get the first question. Ready?
Yes.
All right, workforce development is a national crisis. What are you doing to elevate workforce development, or what will you do to elevate workforce development in DuPage County to fill the employment gap? And by the way, tight. Brevity is the soul.
If only the solution were that simple. I would support ongoing efforts to work with our educational institutions like the College of DuPage to get the kind of training both for skilled labor and unskilled labor within our county so that we have the workforce to support our manufacturing and other businesses here in town. There are efforts with, for example, DuPage County Manufacturers Association to partner with, for example, College of DuPage and others so that there is that workforce. This is a model that has worked in other places outside of DuPage County and can be very successful here. We need to promote that. We need to actually have the place where the millennials want to live, as I mentioned earlier, because if they're all living in Lincoln Park, they're not out here to support our businesses. So we as municipalities and as a county have to make sure that we have not only the training, but also the places to live and the lifestyle that will attract the workforce, whether it's technology-oriented or skilled labor or whatever it might be, to support the companies that we want to keep and to relocate here into DuPage County. And then we have to provide them with the transportation to get to and from, too. Thanks.
Thank you. Peter?
This hits home to me because, as a middle school student, I took an industrial arts class that changed my life. At the request of my father, who was a high school business teacher to start his career, he said, I want you to learn a trade. I want you to go to college, but I want you to learn a trade too. So we actually have to start kids as early as middle school. And I'm proud in Elmhurst, we actually teach CNC in our middle schools. So you can come in and actually learn AutoCAD, you can learn architecture, you can learn carpentry, you can learn metals in middle school, which gets you the path to get to COD. I've worked with the College of DuPage. They actually put CNC in place because up to about 5 years ago, they didn't even offer the program. So, so these are things that we need to do within our public school systems. As Vice Chairman of Economic Development, I put job fairs together. We just did one last week for people with disabilities, the second one ever in the county. We had over 250 kids from all over this county with autism and Down syndrome come to our work at DuPage with over a dozen employers and actually start filling out job applications and working with friendly employers. So we are here to foster training and also foster job creation and jobs. Thank you.
Steve, workforce development.
Yep, well, I deal with this professionally. Currently in my position, we're looking for over 500 skilled folks to hire. It's tough, it's not easy. So how we're doing is I think we should be able to focus and do it on the county board and help folks. A, is partner with existing institutions. I'm challenging our HR team to reach out to these schools, from middle school, high schools, all the vocational schools, colleges, the list goes on. We need to be doing more outreach like that. Second thing we're doing, and it's working, is VA hospitals. A lot of good folks are retired from the service or just getting out. We're hiring them, and they're great. They got great work ethic. They have great qualities, and they're good employees. We're consistently reaching out to the VA hospital. I know we can do better at it. There's no silver bullet here. It takes a lot of dedication, and it takes folks that do it professionally on a day-to-day basis that can bring those experiences to the county board and help foster those partnerships to improve things. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
Yeah, workforce development is actually a major platform of my campaign. It's something that I also do professionally. In my time on the county board, I've worked with College of DuPage to actually launch a pilot program called Project Higher Ed, which partners with businesses and basically builds together a curriculum to train them on critical skills that are lacking. I think this is an exceptional thing that we need to tap into as part of DuPage because of our excellent educational institutions. We have an incredibly educated and well-versed workforce. We need to continue investing in vocational training programs like Project Higher Ed and find ways to partner through the Regional Office of Education in ways like all the folks up here today have said, to get this back into our schools, because we have to get out of the mindset that simply going to a four-year college degree is the only way to achieve success in the world. There's a lot of other high-paying jobs that are out there and can't be filled because we, as a community, haven't invested enough in it. I think we need to continue to do that from DuPage standpoint, and I think I would be well-versed in doing it as well. Thank you.
All right, so this one's super rapido, all right? Because it dovetails on the last question. Would you support a manufacturing tax credit in DuPage County to help incentivize more manufacturing jobs to increase the economy and that type of manufacturing base in DuPage County? Kind of a yes, no, and a tight response as to why, yes or no. Start with you, Greg.
Yes, like I said right before, I think there's a lot of opportunity to expand our footprint from a manufacturing standpoint in here. I think we need to give businesses the incentive to do that, so I would.
Steve.
Yes, I've seen many successful enterprise zones operate. I think it's a simple thing. I used to work for a manufacturer in DuPage County, largest pump manufacturer in the world, and they ask for things just like this. And it does work. It can be done. It has to be done right. Yes.
Peter.
Well, as one of the only manufacturers on the county board, I thoroughly would support. I may have to abstain because it would be a conflict for me, but we are a manufacturer in Addison, 34 years now, and we operate presses, CNC, fully skilled workforce. We're union. We pay our people extremely well, but that's how we do it. And if we have an incentive to come here and do it, it's even getting better. So absolutely.
Marty.
Yes, and to borrow a phrase from Member Hart, I think I'm a big fan of incentives. They have to be smart incentives, not dumb incentives. Not every incentive makes sense. The important thing is to structure a good incentive that will work, number one. Number two, it has to be measurable, so the return on the investment. Whether it's a sales tax incentive or it's partnering with your school district to provide a property tax incentive to keep a major aerospace facility in your industrial park like Rexnord, which the Village of Downers Grove did, partnering with District 99 and District 58 in competition with other states that were trying to lure that business away from us. I'm a fan of smart incentives. So if this incentive is going to work and you can measure its results and its return, then I'm all in favor of it, because we're in a world of competition right now, not just with other counties, but with the city of Chicago, other states, and other countries, and we need to be vigilant.
All right, right back at you, Marty. Do you or will you choose to accept a pension on the county board should you be elected?
No, no, and no. Is that short enough?
That's wonderful. That's exactly how to do it. Peter.
Well, the pension laws actually new board members cannot take a pension. I came over as a mayor and I put more than 20 hours a week in, so I do participate in the health and the welfare and the pension at the county. I work my tail off, and I'm proud of my record. I think hours booked, I was the #2 county board member, short by 18 hours with 1,280 hours last year. So with $1 billion in economic development as a mayor, I make $8,000 as a mayor. We don't make a lot of money as mayors, right, Ren? So
4,800.
Exactly, Martin. So I am in the old system, so I do participate, but the new guys are legally, they can't, so.
Steve.
Short answer is no. You heard me earlier. I led the charge to get rid of this on the Westmont Village Board. I think leadership starts with things like this. I will not be taking the health benefits either. I work full-time, and that's how I participate in those retirement and health benefits. Not on the county board. This is about public service. I will not be taking it. Thank you.
Greg.
Yeah, I believe that government service is about public service. It's not about personal enrichment. Like Pete has mentioned, I'm not able legally to take a pension, but if I were legally able to, I would have declined it. I declined the health benefits, and I'll continue to do that if we return to the county board.
All right, so we're getting near the end here. This question has some political aspects to it. Try and keep it in the context of service, obviously. Assume, for purposes of this question, there will be new leadership at the state level that's potentially diametrically different than what is largely the leadership in DuPage. So the question says, realizing the state's new administration will be different, I say suppose it will be, than DuPage's, what will you do to proactively seek to exempt DuPage from tax and spend policies? Greg.
Well, I think what we have to continue to do is work with our representatives in Springfield to ensure that we're opposing and making sure our voices are heard. We've had a lot of debate about the effectiveness of these referendum questions. aside from the other criticism of them that they're political, they're not. I think we have a duty to poll our people and see what they think. My view is that the vast majority of DuPage County residents are opposed to any tax increases, and what we need to do is continue to show that data through that referendum, because I think that's the best chance we have to kind of stave off some of the efforts from Springfield. But I'll do everything in my power to avoid any tax increases for DuPage and ensure the state legislature follows suit. And I'm sure many of my other members up here would say the same.
Steve?
Yep, I think the big thing is through maintaining relationships. The county has a good track record, and a few of the folks that aren't here today think it's a bad idea to maintain those relationships. You need folks fighting for you in Springfield at the federal level, regardless of the administration, to make sure that we're fairly represented in places that we can, and decisions that we might not have a vote on. But we need to make sure that they know, so things like these referendums on the ballot, our message is clear. We don't want to be taxed more, whatever the situation may be. So thank you.
Pete?
I would continue to use my bully pulpit. I started in public service as a dad who passed a law after being defeated by Mike Madigan 5 times, and on the 6th try got what's called Breonna's Law passed. Breonna's Law was the 3rd state to ensure autism, meaning Illinois. Today, 48 states have that. I've gotten 5 other laws through the state legislature as a Republican, being in the super minority. So I think my track record of getting things done and using my bully pulpit as an elected official, as a public servant, will serve the constituents of my district well, just as they've done with this last six successful pieces of legislation, including EpiPens on police officers. Thank you.
Martin?
I would continue to rely upon the strategies that have worked very successfully for me for the last 16 years. What do I mean by that? Number one, I have almost 16 years of nonpartisan experience as a village council member, as a mayor of Downers Grove, which means I have to work with all kinds of people from both sides of the aisle on a variety of different topics. Because as mayors, we have to get things done. We don't have the luxury of being partisan. We have to get things done, and we do. So I have 16 years of experience of doing that and will continue to do it. I also rely upon my experiences being the former president of the DuPage Mayors and Managers Conference, where we had to work under a different government administration. Governor Quinn was the governor at the time. We had to work with his administration in order to get things done on behalf of the municipalities. So I could do that just as easily if things were to change going forward. And last but not least, we continue to have to be vigilant about maintaining local control here in DuPage County and advocating for Springfield to stop taking money that is yours that needs to come back into your communities.
Martin, this one's for you, and again, down the line. The question says, DuPage IT infrastructure is old and outdated. Assuming that's accurate, and if it's not, take issue with it. If it is accurate, how will you fix it? If it isn't accurate, describe the status of IT infrastructure with DuPage County.
I can answer this way. IT infrastructure can always be improved. And the first thing you want to do is look at what are the needs that you're trying to deliver and then make sure that you have the IT resources that are necessary to deliver it. Candidate for sheriff, Jim Mendrick, is a prime example of someone who is going to bring more technology and more innovations to the sheriff's office should he be elected in November. And I think those are the kind of programs we need to look at. In Downers Grove, we've been very successful in constantly looking at our IT programs, innovating and leveraging technology in order to do more with less. This is something that we can always do, but I'm going to borrow this term again. You need to be smart about it. There is no magic easy button when it comes to technology. Just because you buy a box of software, it's not going to Shazam fix everything. You have to be smart about it. You have to figure out what you're trying to do and then do it cost effectively. But yes, leveraging technology can be very, very advantageous.
Peter?
And using the technology in public safety is something I have a proven track record on. As mayor of Elmhurst, I had put license plate readers at all our major intersections coming in and out of our community. Why? Because we're right on the border of Cook County. 1 in 2 felony crimes, which are up by 15%, by the way, are from Cook County. These people are coming into our county. They're bringing heroin. They're taking things from our families. And we've had 2 shootings in Elmhurst, in the town that I would say, when I was mayor, had no shootings. We caught both of those individuals because of IT, because we had their license plate read, and we went and apprehended both of those individuals, one of which was shot by our officer twice as he tried to run our officer over. So IT is important. Most people think it's just computers. We're actually capturing information. We're not doing red light tickets with this. We're actually just making sure that people who are bad people stay out of this county and we can track it. Thank you.
Steve, IT improvements, or are we okay at DuPage?
Yep, we need to keep improving. Again, it's what I do professionally. It's how we find efficiencies within local governments. We use technology and innovation. Not only do you find efficiencies, you improve and increase service levels and expectations, which is great. But it's not a one and done thing. With technology, you need to be consistent. You can't just say you're going to fix it and upgrade it and then forget about it. And I think that's some of the bad decisions that might have been made decades ago. And it happened in Westmont. We have to consistently be working on it, focus on it, get the folks that understand it, make some good, sound decisions, and improve things consistently. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
Yeah, I think DuPage is actually doing well in technology. We just implemented a new ERP system that, from a county standpoint, helps us streamline some of our services, but there's always ways to improve. One of the things that I would look at, and I've advocated for this on the county board, I'll continue to do it, is exploring cloud-based software solutions, IT solutions, that we might be able to leverage in the county government and actually help streamline and find some efficiencies that we can take advantage of. One of them is payroll. I know a lot of businesses that are operating in this day and age, they don't have their own payroll department necessarily. They contract out with someone. In many cases, it's a cloud-based solution. I think we should look into that, and that's what I'll continue doing at the county board.
Thanks. Okay, so a couple of these questions aren't necessarily perfectly situated for the county, but they have some comity and some overall effect on the county. So, the question is, Mr. Harvey, go to you. What are you doing to stop a progressive income tax in Illinois?
What am I doing to stop progressive? I'm advocating against it every chance I can get. As I said, whenever this is brought up, I think the amount of proposals that we've been talking about today, all relating to tax, all coming from politicians outside of DuPage, I think would have a horrible effect on residents in DuPage. If we're thinking about a progressive income tax, and we're talking about keeping people in the state, it's not gonna happen. People are gonna continue to flee. I'll continue every chance I get to any representative in Springfield. If I'm ever able to see Mr. Pritzker, I'd say the same thing to him too. I'm vehemently opposed to it. I know my constituents are, and I encourage all of you to voice your opinions on this issue as well.
And I should say, if anyone here agrees with it, use that as an opportunity to do the other thing. Mr. Nero.
Yeah, thank you. I'm vehemently opposed to it. I'm advocating against it at every doorstep I'm on. Once folks realize this is on the table, many don't even know. It opens their eyes wide and makes them understand the choices they have here in November. People are leaving extremely fast here from the state. My father's one. He got sick of it. As soon as he found out about this, he just said, you know what, guys, more and more folks are going to keep leaving. Illinois really got to get their act together. Stop putting it on the backs of the taxpayers and make some smart financial decisions. Thanks.
Pete, the thought of a progressive tax on income and or which has been floated from the other side, or a tax on retirement, to me is wrong. We don't want to penalize somebody for doing well. A flat tax where we need to keep it. We need to keep our taxes low. Otherwise, again, we're going to see more and more people fleeing. People are already taxed on through their nose on property tax, which is driving their seniors out. So again, I would be against progressive tax and also tax on retirement income as well.
Martin.
I'm opposed to the progressive tax. The first thing I'll do is take a copy of this form and broadcast it to everyone I possibly can. I think we've sent the message pretty loud and clear on a number of different occasions. Second, more seriously, you can work through things like associations of county governments, and DuPage County has joined as part of a new organization of a conference of county governments, much like municipalities do, where they work together to have a broader voice. And DuPage County can partner with other counties throughout the state and beyond, quite frankly, to bring an even louder voice to the governor's office and the General Assembly on issues like this. So I think that kind of collaborative effort is one way we can advocate our position. And then I'm going to answer the other question in my last seconds. We also need to make sure that we're secure with our data in DuPage County. So cybersecurity is another thing we need to keep an eye on in terms of IT. I ran out of time on that one.
Fair enough. This is the last audience participation question I have, so if there's anything out there that anyone wants to bring forward, feel free. So, Martin, it's to you. Again, it's similar to what we talked about earlier under the ACT initiative and the potential for fire department consolidation, but it's a little broader, so try and figure out how you're going to answer this within the context as a sitting county board member. What is your position on forcing consolidation of school districts?
Forcing consolidation of school districts. I'll be candid, I'm not as well versed in school district politics or even the infrastructure, so bear with me on this. But I'll just go back to what I said earlier. I don't think that forcing consolidation is a good idea because it has a lot of challenges. That if you have a resistant group, whether it's the constituents, whether it's the unions, whether it's the administration, whoever it is, you're going to have some difficulty doing it. The real key is how do you empower and facilitate the stakeholders who are involved to see the advantages of consolidation and then work together to make it happen, and then the county and the state and others can help eliminate those barriers. And again, I'm not a school district guy, so take everything I said with a block of salt, but it works much better as a practical matter if you have buy-in from the bottom.
Peter.
Well, when I was a candidate for mayor, I was not endorsed by the papers, but they said I should have been president of the school board, because I was very active with our schools, which was a compliment at Elmhurst, because Elmhurst we have some of the best schools in the country. Elmhurst actually is, I think, a role model for consolidation. We consolidated all of our school districts, from elementary, middle, and high school, into a unit district. That makes everything work well. That makes the kindergartners all the way through high school kind of in accordance with each other. That makes industrial art programs that teach people how to job skills and gives them a taste of what future employment, what they might want to do for a living. The ability to do it in middle school, because in a unit district, there's work through one superintendent and one board versus 3 boards and 3 superintendents.
Thank you.
Yep.
Steve?
Yeah, thank you. Well, real quick, I'm a product of public schools. I'm endorsed by the Westmont School Board President and board members. I value schools. Without good schools, we don't have good property values. But here's the things we need to do, and I'm not a fan of forcing anybody to do anything. I've always been a proponent, similar with code enforcement, to educate people. Let's share the issues. Let's share the results. Let's share the positives that can come from this. Sometimes it may work, sometimes it won't work. But if you force something, nothing ever good comes out of that. Thank you.
Greg?
Yeah, I would agree. I think whenever we're dealing with consolidation, we need to ensure that all stakeholders that are potentially impacted understand the benefits and are on board. I think similar to emergency services, like we talked about earlier with fire protection, except even more so, schools are the most personal thing to people as it relates to where they choose to live. It's what educates their kids. It's what their property value is almost inherently tied to. So whenever we're thinking about a consolidation effort, we need to ensure that we're taking in all of that into consideration before acting. And like Steve said, I don't think forcing anyone to do anything is the right approach.
All right, so you're going to get a facilitator question now. I'm going to use my discretion to throw a little bit of a tight one at you, and think about this. And I think it's a yes, no, maybe so type situation. Various units of government employ lobbyists to help them in Springfield to varying degrees of success. Some people take issue with taxpayer dollars being utilized by elected officials to lobby other elected officials. Now, in DuPage, you have a very effective group called DuPage Mayor's Conference, which essentially kind of sort of lobbies. But what is your position on the board hiring a lobbyist to communicate, facilitate, and engage with either Springfield or DC? Correct.
Yeah, so I'm someone who thinks that the influence of money and lobbying in government generally is too high. I think we all would probably agree with that. However, when we're dealing with the situation where we're getting less money from the state, the ability for us to actually go down to Springfield and lobby as county board members is very limited. As Pete mentioned, we're incredibly busy doing our jobs, working for you. I think from a county standpoint, we have definitely seen the benefits of our hiring lobbyists as it relates to the dollars coming back to DuPage. I think it's proven value, and I think it's something that we need to continue doing at the county board.
Thanks. Steve?
Yep, I alluded to this earlier in one of my statements or responses, and the answer is yes, I support it. It can be effective. We have to be smart with it. In Westmont, we obviously are members of the DuPage Mayors and Managers. We participate in Illinois Municipal League, a component that's technically that, if you want to dissect it that way. And the counties has a great program. You know, we don't have impacts or votes on all these things. You need equal and fair representation in the places that we can be. I do this professionally as well, and it's extremely effective if done right. I would support this.
Peter?
As a mayor and as a county board member, I have supported having professionals represent us both in Springfield and in Washington. When I was on DuPage Mayors and Managers Conference, we did not initially have a lobbyist, and we weren't getting a whole lot done. When we employed a lobbyist on both sides of the aisle, all of a sudden things started happening. Having been in Springfield, having been down there without a lobbyist as a dad, I gave up a whole year of income, and I worked my tail off to get that bill passed. I did it because it was affecting so many kids in this county. Now, and having been down there, things can change on a dime. I had 6 bills introduced in one session. So to have professionals down there that are there every day is important, because Springfield and Washington move quickly, and we need people with boots on the ground to make sure that DuPage County gets its fair share. Thank you.
Thanks. Martin?
I think it can be effective when you know what it is you're trying to achieve and you're being cost effective about utilizing an outside service or individuals to represent you in Springfield on issues that are important. So to have it just for the sake of having it, no, but I've seen it be very effective on a number of different issues. The key here is everyone needs to understand that a lot of the influences in Springfield are there all the time. They're down there all the time advocating oftentimes interests that are not aligned with ours. The county board or DuPage mayors and managers, people are not in Springfield all the time. So yes, we have an organization, but while we make trips down periodically throughout the year to lobby, we're up against people who are there all the time, 24/7. And in order to be on a fair playing ground and make sure that our interests are being represented, your interests are being represented, yes, sometimes you have to employ lobbyists, but you have to be smart about it, be smart about how much you pay, you have to be smart about who you use, make sure that they're not also representing somebody who's on an issue opposed to you. There are a lot of different things to take into consideration, but at DuPage mayors and managers, we found that we've been able to very cost effectively utilize lobbyists on key issues to get our legislative agenda advanced, or to make sure that something else doesn't happen to us, unfunded mandates, new taxes. Sometimes it's about keeping bad things from happening as much as it is advancing a good thing. And that's why I think doing it smartly and cost effectively, and you need to be transparent and open about this with the residents as to why you're using it and what it is you're trying to achieve, and then hold yourself accountable. Did you achieve what it was you set out to do? But yes, I think it can be effective when properly done.
Marty, this one's for you, obviously for the whole panel. Similarly, the size and scope of DuPage County government is what it is, but when you compare it to other units of like government, whether it's Lake County, Will County, McHenry County, we'll keep Chicago out of it because Cook County is its own animal. Is DuPage County the right form and shape? Do we have the right number of board members? Do we pay right? The whole scope. Because doing more with less has been mentioned by each of you in different contexts. Is looking at the size and scope of DuPage governance a fair topic of discussion to make sure we have the right size government?
It's absolutely a fair topic of discussion, and I want to say two things. Number one, I'm completely open to looking at how many board members we have, how many districts we have, what the compensation is. All those different issues I think are fair game and periodically should be revisited by any responsible unit of government, absolutely. That being said, some of the proposals I've heard put out by some who aren't here about the cost savings, you have to put into context. What is the $143 million budget that the county's putting forward? And the cost savings we're talking, not insignificant, but to really address the economic issues of the county, we need to be focusing on much bigger issues. But should we be looking at how many board members we have, how many districts we have, and what the compensation is? Yes, all fair questions. What we also need to keep in mind is by making those adjustments, are we still meeting the expectations of stakeholders in terms of their level of representation? So this isn't just a decision that can be made up here. I think it needs to be made in conjunction with the community as to what their expectations are about how well they are represented and by whom throughout the entire county. But it's absolutely an appropriate topic of conversation.
Pete, size and scope of county government.
We're about a $500 million budget. We're a population of, I think, larger than 7 states. To put things in perspective, we have challenges, but yet we have a great county. We have a great county because we have good people leading the county, period. We've had good leadership from Jack Kniford till current, you know what I mean? And good members of the county board that have represented their districts well. So when I think of all the things going back to 1976, when I moved here in DuPage County, from bringing water to our county, we used to have well water, to stormwater issues, to you name it, I think the county served itself well with the county board, and I think we're compensated fairly. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
I think it's very appropriate. My motto in Westmont has been nothing cannot be discussed. Nothing was off the table. If anything came up or if we want to talk about something, the board always respected that discussion. I would take that same philosophy, whether it's about number of district members, compensation, to the county board and discuss it. I think anything warrants a healthy discussion. That's why we're putting ourselves out there for public service, and I won't be deterred from anything. Thanks.
Greg.
Yeah, I think it's worth looking into as well. With regards to shrinking the amount of county board members in each district, I think it's important to note that if we were to explore that, it shouldn't be as a cost savings mechanism. Like Martin mentioned, it's not going to produce tangible cost savings that are going to have an impact on the budget. What we should be looking at is whether or not that would actually ensure that all people in these districts are represented effectively. I think when you look at the size of the districts we have, it's about 160,000 people in each of the county board districts. Would shrinking that down to 2 hurt the ability of those people to have access to the representatives? We have to look into it. On the concept of pay, I do believe that our county board salary is relatively high compared to our Collier County counterparts. We're about 20% higher. So I would support actually lowering that cost, our county board member pay. I think it should be about public service, not compensation.
All right, thank you. So, thank you all, by the way. Obviously, you got some audience questions, you got some facilitator made-up questions, and you had some questions by both the Darien the Darien Chamber of Commerce and Chamber 630. So appreciative of, I think you got 15 questions, more or less there. So appreciate all of the discussion. So now is the conclusion time. And I'm gonna mix it up because I think we heard from everybody, but just to make it fun, I'm gonna put people on the spot to go without a heads up. So Steve, you start us off. I think you get 2 minutes.
Great.
Feel free to use less or all 2 minutes.
Do more with less, Steve.
You got it. I'm good at that. Thank you again to the Chamber and all the volunteers for hosting today's forum, as well as our moderator. It's great to see you again. This has been a great opportunity to inform voters of their choices, their election. I think this is the most important election in my lifetime, if not in all of our folks' lifetimes here today. I will fight tirelessly to protect your tax dollars while safeguarding our neighborhoods and preserving high-quality, cost-effective services. I have a track record of building consensus to achieve our goals. I look forward to having the honor of serving you, so please remember to vote for Steve Nero as your county board member in District 2. And one last comment, I want to invite everybody after this to downtown Westmont. Member Hart, Mayor Tully, and I are going to be challenging each other in a pumpkin smashing contest. I'm looking at the trees moving, and we're going to be lifted up about 50 feet in the air in one of our bucket trucks, dropping a pumpkin. And it's
Billy
promoting-
Corgan will not be here.
And it is promoting decomposition of pumpkins. It's a very good environmental thing to do. But I invite you to come. It's a trick-or-treat fun fest. Kids are having a lot of fun, and I'm a little nervous about getting in this bucket. But we're going to do it because it's a good thing, and it's going to be a good community event. So please come on down. It's a lot of fun. Thanks again. And I look forward to seeing everybody here on Election Day, hopefully voting. Thanks.
Thanks. Martin Tully, conclusions.
Sure, I'll start with a correction. I was thinking of the Village Hours growth budget. It's a $433 million county budget for 2019, just a point of correction. First of all, I just want to thank everyone for being here. Really appreciate you taking some time out of your Saturday to come and become more educated and informed voters. Thank you to both chambers and to Ron Sandak for putting on this terrific forum. We really appreciate it. I've been a resident of DuPage County for over 35 years. I'm on my 4th home in DuPage County. Like many of you, we live here for a reason, we moved here for a reason. So I'm committed to keeping DuPage County a great place to live, work, play, and run a business. My wife and I moved to Downers Grove in 1992. We raised our 2 sons who now go to the College of DuPage. And we love this community. And I'm invested in keeping it that way, but it's gonna take work. And it's gonna take work from people who have a proven track record of delivering exceptional results and years of experience in actually doing the things that you heard us talk about here today. So when you see the ads and the palm cards of people talking about concepts, that's one thing, but actions speak louder than words. And I think that the residents of District 3 and DuPage County as a whole deserve representation in the county board from, again, proven leaders with a track record of delivering exceptional results. There's an old saying that mayors run the world. And that's because, as I hinted at earlier, we have to get things done. When the snow falls, it's not red, it's not blue, it's white, and we have to plow it because the fire trucks have to roll, the police cars have to roll, and the ambulances have to get by, and the kids need to get to school. So we get things done. And I know how to work with people to get things done and leverage and innovate, consolidate, and collaborate. These aren't just concepts for me. These are things that I'm very familiar with and I've done and can continue to help be done at the DuPage County Board should I be elected. The other thing is that we don't have the benefit of a lot of the partisan fighting that goes on that mucks up Springfield and at the federal level. When people call 911 within a community, I don't ask them their political party. We answer the call and we help them. And that's my experience, and that's what I commit to you that I will do as your representative on DuPage County Board District 3 is deliver that kind of know-how, can-do results for you that will continue to keep DuPage County a great place to live, work, play, raise a family, and run a business. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Greg Hart.
Thank you very much. Well, I want to thank our esteemed moderator for hosting this today. I thought it was a great forum. I want to thank everyone who came out to hear about the issues and our stances on them. And again, want to thank the 2 chambers. I think there's there's few groups that do as much to sponsor economic development in our communities and our local chambers of commerce. You guys are doing a great job, and thank you for hosting this forum. I also want to thank my colleagues up here on the table with me, including those that aren't here, because regardless of who of us gets elected to the county board, one thing that is for certain is that I will work with each of my colleagues, regardless of their political affiliation, because that's what our residents expect. It's not about politics, it's about people, and that's why we need to continue to have representation on the county board that continues to make DuPage a place that we all want to stay. It's very personal for me. As I mentioned before, I want to make sure that my daughter has the same opportunities as I did to grow up here. And right now, with the way the state's going, we need to fight harder than ever to ensure we have the proper leadership on the county board. My business background, I think, uniquely qualifies me for continued service, and I just don't talk about that conceptually. I've actually done it in my year on the county board. I've frozen your property tax levy once. I'm about to do it again in the coming weeks in a vote on the budget. I've been there for the consolidation of 3 ineffective units of government that have saved over $2.7 million. I personally saved taxpayers $1 million through the effort to consolidate psych services into the health department that I mentioned before. And I've also reached across the aisle, working with Congressman Roger Christian-Murthy to help find bipartisan solutions to the opioid crisis that I know is affecting almost everyone in our community one way or the other. So I think that if that's what I've been able to do in 1 year in service on the county board, I can do a lot more for you in 4, and I'd be honored to have your support on November 6th. Thank you.
Thanks. Last but certainly not least, Tiziani.
Well, thank you. And I'd like to thank the Chamber for this opportunity. It's so good to be amongst residents and also amongst business leaders to talk about the different issues that we have going on. You know, 34 years as a founder, CEO, and a small business owner, manufacturer right here in DuPage County, a mayor who took a town in 2009 that had 27 days of fund balance in the checking account with a AA credit rating, and left with over 90 days in the account. We had about $4 million when I got in, about $16 million when I left, and a AAA bond rating. A town that's vibrant, new hospital, jobs, the first Mariano's in the county. Those are things that I was able to do as a mayor. Those are the things that I've been able to do as a county board member as well. The first Mariano's in Lombard was brought here by myself and Mayor Genorio. So stormwater projects, you look at Graw Mill, you look at Elmhurst, you look at Villa Park, you look at Westmont and Lyle. I brought home hundreds of millions of dollars in stormwater money through our FEMA declaration that happened in 2010 and in 2013, where I was the mayor that brought in Peter Roscom, Dick Durbin to Elmhurst with about 20 mayors and county staff to get that FEMA declaration declared. If that FEMA declaration doesn't happen, we have single moms, we have families without insurance that don't rebuild, don't recover. That's devastating. So that experience you just don't get unless you do the job. And I've done the job. I'm proud to have served as a mayor. I'm proud to serve this county. 6 years as a stormwater commissioner. Know the ins and the outs of the whole county. Now head of transit and vice chairman of economic development. I'm proud of my accomplishments. I'm hoping that the voters of this great community of District 2 and of this county will join the 25 mayors throughout the county that endorse me and give me their vote. So thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to serving you over the next 4 years. Thank you.
Thanks for everyone coming out. Yeah.
Mr. Moderator, one thing on behalf of everyone up here that I think is important to know is a reminder of both District 2 and District 3. I would vote for 2.
Yeah.
That's important to remember. There are 2 seats that are up for election in both District 2 and District 3, so it's important to remember that.
I was just going to say that, but
Great
that's
minds
cool.
think alike.
The candidate gets to say they have the last word, but I want to thank everyone for coming out. Let's give these gentlemen a round of applause for being here and seeking to serve. Thank you guys so much. Thank you.
Yeah, I know.